Hey there, you wonderful listeners. I have a question for you. Do you want to make a podcast? Well, Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily and then distribute it everywhere and even earn money all in one place and for free. How can you beat that? It's called Spotify for Podcasters. And here is how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. And when you want to take conversations with your fans to the next level, there are Q&A and poll options available, and those are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since I've discovered Spotify for Podcasters, it has made doing my shows like the Steam Machine Podcast, Yabs Pod, and the JRPG Report much, much easier to do. Like being able to just go on there, record them, upload it, boom, it's done. I don't have to pay for a site service to host or anything like that. It's fantastic. So I highly recommend that you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started today.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Steam Machine Podcast. My name is Dalton, and joining me as always is my good buddy.
This is Ryan.
And this week, we have a motherfucking guest! And
Yay.
I just want to go ahead and say that this is one of my best friends. I am super proud of her for what she's done because she is one of the newest members of the Elder Scrolls Online stream team. Her name is HyperPixie. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Pixie, and I am kind of obsessed with Elder Scrolls in general, especially Elder Scrolls Online. I've been playing that game since it launched on console back in, 2015, I think now, so about 5.5 years, and it does not feel like that long at all. Got started with Elder Scrolls back with Morrowind, and then I played them out of order because I didn't have an Xbox there for a little while, so I played it a little bit of Morrowind, then Skyrim, then bounced back to Oblivion, and now I'm in Elder Scrolls Online. So I really enjoy RPGs of all sorts. I am a Twitch streamer who mainly streams Elder Scrolls Online, and gonna be streaming Cyberpunk soon too. So trying to add some variety in as well. And I'm also a co-host on the Tales of Tamriel podcast, which Dalton is actually the one who told me about Tales of Tamriel, so it's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Great to guest on your show now.
Right. I love Tales. I still listen to those guys, even though I don't play ESO anymore. I've been meaning to get back into it. It's just like, I've learned this with World of Warcraft, is that when I try to play the games for the show and juggle an MMO, I'm having this constant battle in my head of, do I play the game that I'm paying to play, or do I play the game that I need to play for the show? And it's this constant war in my head. So I'm like, so I've kind of just put MMOs aside for right now, until at least until we pull a shorter game.
That's been me since we started Guild Wars. Like,
yeah, and it's like, and now we have Guild Wars to dive into, and I'm like, oh man, so much. So maybe next time we pull, like, I was adding a couple extraneous games that I didn't have on the list today, and the main story of I think it's called Furious Angels. The main story is 5 minutes long.
fantastic.
What? That's great.
I don't even know how that's I'm wondering if it's like a shoot 'em up and they just give you a plot dump in the beginning and they're just like, there you go. This is the story. Go have fun. I don't know how it's going to work, but
Probably just launches like there's no time to explain.
oh my god, yeah, that game. So
Opening credits. All right, you're at the climax. Have fun.
that game starts out and you're just like this dude sitting in your living room, and a future version of yourself bursts through the wall and is like, I need you to come with me. The world's about to end, but there's no time to explain. And this beast comes in and just kills that version of yourself, and then the game starts. And you're like, what the fuck is going on?
It's really good way to start a game, though. That actually sounds super interesting.
Oh, that game.
It was tremendous.
That game. tremendous put together, but
stupid
it's stupid fucking hard.
Oh,
Like
God.
they went too hard with it.
Me and Ryan both got to the same boss and said, "Nope, we're done."
Yeah.
That was me
Could
with
not-
Dark Souls 3, honestly. My boyfriend and I had bought it. We're like, this sounds like it'll be fun. We can kind of play it together. You know, if one of us gets too frustrated, we'll just pass the controller. I'm like, how hard can it be? I do in-game raids in ESO. I'm good at video games. Oh my God. We had to return it because we both nearly broke a controller. And we had only played for 2 hours. We're like, you know what? Fuck this game. It's going back. We're getting a different game.
Yeah, those games. I added the first Dark Souls to the list just to punish myself because I would like to try that series more than I have. Like, my only experience with it was I had a good friend of mine that him and his son would play the Dark Souls games together. And I went over there and they were stuck on some boss. And I remember that it was a giant tree. And they said, we've been stuck on this boss for 2 weeks and we can't beat it. And I said, let me give a crack at it. And I beat it my first try. And the next thing I knew after that, a random enemy killed me. And they were like, welcome to Dark Souls, bro. They're like, you get lucky sometimes, but that's about it.
I got mad at the way dodge roll works in that game. I don't know what I can't remember now because it was a while ago, but there was something about dodge roll that just made me rage immediately. I guess because it didn't feel like ESO dodge roll, and so I jumped straight from ESO the night before into that game, and it didn't work the same, which just
big
was
difference.
immediately frustrating. And that happens with like any game. Lately, since I've been bouncing between Assassin's Creed Valhalla and ESO, and so I'll play ESO like 3-4 nights a week, and then the rest of the week is Valhalla right now. And so going from pressing 5 on my mouse, which is just what I keybinded it to dodge roll, to all of a sudden I'm double clicking directions and stuff to dodge roll in that direction. It's just very, very different. And I keep hitting 5 on my mouse, which is my big AoE heal. I'm like, why am I not dodging? Why am I healing people? That's not what I was trying to do. You can just let them die. I have to stay alive. But
I have to ask you, how is Valhalla? I know I've
Yeah.
heard you rant and rave
yeah.
about it, so...
I'm
So
waiting to pick up Valhalla, so I'm interested to hear.
it was a little rocky launch, so I do have to come straight out and say I absolutely adore the game. It's been fantastic. The gameplay is really fun. I've heard it plays better on controller, but it was just, I'm out of ports and I don't have a Bluetooth Xbox controller, and my PC does not like my PlayStation controllers, apparently. So, but once you get used to the controls and stuff, it plays fine. It does have, it's not super well optimized on PC. It's better now than it was right at launch because there was a patch that fixed a lot of the crashes, but right at launch, it crashed like multiple times every time I play it. And it wasn't maxing out my system or anything like that. I definitely like meet the recommended and above, so it just is poorly optimized. But that's Ubisoft.
I remember hearing that happened with Horizon Zero Dawn as well when that first launched on PC, that it was having some issues with crashing and stuff. And I think that's just like, I don't know, people porting. I think porting a game that is specifically made for console to PC is almost still relatively new, because almost all the games that I could think of ever also came out on PC in some way, shape, or form. So these games that haven't, and now they're having to be ported to these new systems, I can see that there's going to be some issues, but it's nothing that they can't fix.
Now, with Ubisoft games in the past, so with every other Assassin's Creed game, I always got it on console, because up until about 2 years ago, I was a console gamer. So this is the first one that, like, I've put any significant amount of time into on PC, but I have a buddy, Wandering Bard, who, he is a huge AC fanatic, and he told me that every single release on PC is just really buggy for a long time. And that's just a Ubisoft thing that they tend to prioritize consoles. So I'm going off of what he's saying, but that seems to be true from my experience with this one in particular, that it seems to have a lot of crashes on PC, but that consoles seem to be doing a little bit better with it. But I like it. The photo mode, oh my god. The photo mode, I think, is what I've spent most of my time doing in that game. I'll, like, wait until I get a really cool, like, stun attack where I'm bashing some dude in the head with his own shield, and I'm taking a picture, and she has the crazy eyes. I'm like, this is amazing. Yeah. And I think I sent you this one, Dalton, where I did, like, my Valkyrie dive, where I jump up with both my axes out, and I'm about to, like, behead a dude, and I'm in the air. Yeah. I had way too much fun just taking pictures that night.
Yeah, I know that once I eventually get into that and start playing some more Assassin's, because I have Assassin's Creed Odyssey and I still need to beat that. I love taking screenshots. I've been posting all kinds of screenshots that I've been taking in my Skyrim playthrough,
Yeah.
and
You
so photo mode is
screenshot
always
a lot.
cool. Yeah, man. Well, that's because it's like, oh, that looks cool. Click. Like it started with me in Final Fantasy 14, like just getting cool pictures of my character in cool armor, and then I was like, well, I could probably do this in other different types of games. And then No Man's Sky, I took a lot of pictures in No Man's Sky.
Yeah, I did it a lot with No Man's Sky too.
And
I
then
did it a lot with Animal Crossing as well.
I love Animal Crossing. I also take lots of fun screenshots in Animal Crossing.
I'm willing to bet that all of my villagers are gone and my island is just overrun with weeds.
Oh,
and
mine
stuff,
has
'cause I
been
haven't logged on
neglected
that.
for months now. Probably.
Yeah,
I played a few days ago.
I've been meaning to. I tell you what. Speaking of Switch games, and this is not technically legal, but whatever. I have a way to run Breath of the Wild on my PC,
Oh, nice.
and dude, running Breath of the Wild at 2K and with upscaled 60 frames a second, all that kind of stuff. Ooh, dog, it's a whole new game.
Now, on the topic of legal or not legal, I mean, okay, legality-wise, it's probably not great. But if we're looking from a morality standpoint, you own the game on Switch. Like, you already paid for the game. You're just playing it on a different
That's true.
platform that it was never meant to play on. They don't even sell a PC copy, so it's not like they could be earning that money from you. Like, if they released a PC port, then sure. But you already bought the game, so I think there are worse things you could be doing.
True enough.
Speaking
But
of that,
it's
did
been
you see
real
the
fun.
article the other day where the new Xbox console is going to be able to play games on the from the PS2?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, you can activate developer mode and run RetroArch, have fun. And it's like, oh, okay, so the Xbox can play any game it wants to,
Yeah,
basically,
pretty-
back in the day.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's pretty sweet, in my opinion. Like,
They're like, we have no major games at launch, but you guys can play any game you want. There's that. Right.
yeah, it's like, if you put RetroArch on there and then you get an external hard drive that's big enough, you could have, like, every single retro console's entire catalog at your disposal at any time.
Oh, yeah.
Be wild.
The article I saw that was talking about it, I think the tagline was Xbox does PlayStation backwards compatibility better than PlayStation because it can run like the PlayStation 2 games and stuff.
Yeah.
It was great. I was like, this is hilarious.
Speaking of things that are in the news, real quick before we dive into Skyrim, I have to ask you guys. This was brought to my attention by Fenris in the our Discord channel. Have you seen that Monster Hunter World has been getting review bombed on Steam because of the movie?
Because of the movie?
I didn't know there was a movie.
God, I hate
So
people
there's
who
a-
review bomb. It's awful.
It's dumb. So, okay, yeah, they made a movie. The main character is Mila Jovovich. To me, it gives off a Resident Evil vibe, but just Monster Hunter instead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so apparently it's already out in China. It hasn't come out here yet, but it's already out in China, and people are up in arms in China because there's a joke in the movie that says, "You know what type of knees those are? Chinese."
Well,
And they say that it's like referencing some joke, Chinese, Japanese, dirty knees.
something like that.
And
yeah.
and I always thought that was Chinese, Japanese, dirty knees. Look at these, and like it was a fat guy shaking his tits thing. That was what I was to me growing up because I guess because I was a fat guy. So I don't know. So when I saw that was the reason, I was like, okay, I don't know. Like, to me, I've heard a lot of jokes in my time, but saying, like, what kind of knees are those? Chinese? I don't find that but I'm not Chinese, too. So, but to me, I don't know. I feel like when I saw that, I was like, oh, man, what joke did they say? I'm thinking it's going to be something harsh.
Yeah, I was
Well-
thinking it was going to be some sexist thing
Well,
that's like really bad.
Their system gets a little uppity when it comes to like censorship and everything like that. Like Winnie the Pooh is
Yeah, and that's-
still banned in China as like a caricature and like entity because of the memes that floated around. Like
That fucking episode of South Park, dude, when Mickey Mouse comes in and he's like, who the fuck did it? who cost me fucking money?
Yeah.
Was it you? Was it you? And they throw Winnie the Pooh in the fucking prison because Jesus.
We're
I would
trending on
definitely say.
we're trending on our way to that sort of level too, especially if they repeal Section 230 and allow companies to get sued for other people's content. Like,
Well, I'll definitely say, like, it sounds like that was a stupid joke to begin with.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was some soldier apparently that just says it like while they're out on the battlefield or something.
Is
Like,
that even something that's in the game?
Probably
that they just like ported straight
No,
over? 'Cause, like, I don't understand what context that would even be funny.
Dalton,
But I'm gonna go
Dalton
ahead-
hit it on the head. This movie is just going to essentially be Resident Evil, but Monster Hunter instead. They're going for that heavy action based movie that has nothing to actually do with the video game franchise. They're just going to run with it. Like,
Yeah, basically. And I think they're just trying to cash in on the popularity of that game recently with Iceborne and all of that.
they are.
But from what I've seen, I mean, I was super stoked about that movie Meg that came out about the Megalodon.
Oh, the Meg.
Because I read
I love the book.
I read the books.
I love the book.
I loved the book. The movie was such a hot pile.
Oh, that movie was hot garbage, and it was fantastic.
It was one of those like so bad it's like Velocipaster.
Oh no, it's not that bad. That movie is an instant classic. That movie is up there with like Kung Fury and what was that, Commando Ninjas?
Yeah, Commando Ninjas. Man, Taylor, have you ever seen Velocipaster? Did I ever tell you about that at
You
all?
told me about it, but I haven't actually watched it. See, so this is kind of like a running joke in like my stream and Discord. It's not even so much a joke, it's just pretty true, is that I just don't watch any movies pretty much ever.
Oh.
Like, I just, in the last, like, year, saw Harry Potter for the first time. I'm just now watching Lord of the Rings for kind of the first time. I was really young whenever I watched them the actual first time, and I missed the first one, so
You need to do.
kind of didn't make any sense.
You need to do first reaction videos then. Just start.
Oh, I've never seen Star Wars either, and people have been hitting me hard on that, and I've never seen any Ace Ventura movie, which my
old are
boyfriend
you?
isn't happy
How old
about.
are you?
27.
And how have you not even accidentally once seen any of these movies? Like, they're on TV
don't know.
all the time. Like,
I don't know. It's because I'm playing video games instead of watching
that's fair.
movies.
That's
And
fair.
that's
fair.
and that's what happens to me
But-
is like all this stuff comes out. There's so many shows that I want to watch, but it's like, but I just end up playing video games instead.
here's your guest goal. You have to watch Velocipaster and then record a first reaction video.
I don't know. So the thing is like the stupid humor movies. I don't know why things just can't hold my attention span. I don't
it's
have
not
ADD.
that this
I've
is
never
a-
been
yeah.
diagnosed with that. I just walk off.
It's
I can't help
it's not that this movie is like stupid humor. It's that when they created this movie, they knew this movie was going to be ridiculously bad from the get-go. So they like excelled at making the movie as bad as possible. Like,
Yeah, they embraced it.
it's a what
Like
the opening sequence starts off with a fight scene and then it zooms in on an empty parking spot and it said the budget was too low for special effects. Imagine a car blowing up. But
my
there's like
God.
absolutely nothing there. And then like the major fight scene at the end when the pastor actually turns into the Velocipaster, he's in one of the inflatable dinosaur suits just fighting a bunch of fucking ninjas.
Oh my God.
It's the cheapest looking raptor suit.
They
you've
probably
ever
did it
seen.
with a
It's
budget of like
tremendous.
$400. Yeah.
Anyways, let's jump into it. So, real quick, Ryan, what have you been up to in Skyrim this week?
You know, chasing fucking quests. Like, there's so many of them. I'm overwhelmed. My quest log is absolutely massive now because I keep picking shit up that gives me another quest. I'm going to start avoiding books. Like, these books have opened up so many fucking quests for me. Like,
Oh man, but that you can get some good gear
I know,
from some of that.
I know.
Like the Forbidden Legend and things like that.
I think the last thing I've left off on is I think I'm doing Meridia's Beacon.
Another hand touches the beacon.
Yep, that one.
Yeah, I was just
That one.
Yeah. Hear my words, champion. Go to my temple and cleanse the plague that whatever the fuck. Yeah, that lady. I just went and put her beacon on the thing earlier today and did that whole shoot up into the sky.
Did you?
Where she talks to you and she's all like, "Go do this," and at the end I'm like, "Well, I don't really have a choice, do you?" She's like, "No."
So I'm kind of jumping ahead into
Go
ESO
ahead.
versus Skyrim a little bit here, but our most recent expansion includes Mount Kilcreath.
Oh.
And you
Nice.
actually get to go do some quests there and stuff.
Nice.
It's really cool to see it. The big statue of Meridia is still there. back in the Second Era, which tells you how ancient that is. And it's a really cool quest line. And
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's just basically all of her followers have been slaughtered, and that's what you see whenever you get there. And it's just fantastic. The writing there was great.
Wow.
So, to the listeners or anybody who is listening and might not know, Elder Scrolls Online takes place about a millennia before Skyrim. I think it's just about 1,000 years.
Somewhere around there. I think it was like 850 something, but I don't know. I do the math sometimes and then promptly forget what it is, but it's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time before Skyrim. So that's one thing I want to do before, after we talk about what we've been doing in the game, is kind of touch on what changes, like what was different back then as opposed to what's going on these days. Personally, this week I killed Ulfric Stormcloak. Cut his head off because the Stormcloaks are racist bastards, and my character Orin Javgar is a Nord from Cyrodiil, like I said, and he does not understand why everybody's like Skyrim's for the Nords, because he grew up in the Imperial City where there was a smattering of everyone. He even once met a lady who was asking him about necrophilia in Cyrodiil, and he didn't quite have an answer for her. But so I killed Ulfric. One thing that bothers me, though, about killing him is that Imperials are still like, you shouldn't be here. Get out. Like, what are you doing in this building? And I'm like, motherfucker, I helped y'all win. Leave me alone. I'm taking your fucking carrots. Like, get off my back. And I killed Alduin.
That's fun. That's a fun fight.
First time ever. That was my first time killing Alduin.
Nice. Congrats.
I had always gotten up to the point where I had to catch Odahviing, or like right before then, and I never went past that because it was always like, I'm going to add another 100 mods to my game. Oh no, my game doesn't work anymore. So before I did this playthrough, I like I said, I did a lot of studying. Again, I'm going to shout out Gamer Poets on YouTube is amazing for any type of modding tutorial for Skyrim, Oblivion, Fallout New Vegas, like any of those. Gamer Poets is going to hook you up with exactly how to do it, because I've got about 340 mods right now, and it's running smooth. Like,
nice.
I have one little issue that I'll touch on in a second, but I don't think it's caused by anything other than just me being dumb. But his tutorials on YouTube are amazing, and he has quite possibly the best voice on YouTube. I'm just going to throw that out there. I like listening to the dude talk.
Now I just kind of want to go listen to him talk.
Good
job selling his
channel. I'll shoot you a link. Yeah, he's awesome. One issue that I've been running into is that if I have a certain weapon drawn, it's called the Odin's Wrath, and I don't know what mod installs it or added it, but if I have that weapon out with a torch and I go through a doorway, when I come through that doorway, it is going to be a black screen. Now, I can still move and hear everything, but it's just a black fucking screen. And the only thing that'll fix that is if I save it, quit out, delete my INI files, open the launcher, let it redo INI files, and go back into it, and it's fixed. So I don't know what the fuck is that. What's going on with that? I don't know if it's
like a developer's nightmare. Just a slight little background on me. I actually work as a web developer as my day job, so whenever I hear random ass crazy glitches like that, I'm just like, how could they have found that? Like, that's something you can only find once it goes to production, because it's just so specific.
Yeah.
Why would you think to test that? That's just something that just happens because somebody wants a torch and that specific weapon.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder if that if maybe it's ELFX, enhanced lighting and effects. It's one of the mods that I have. It makes me wonder if there's something going on with the torch light and then the light that's glowing on the sword.
Oh, maybe.
And the new light in the room. So there's no telling. But yeah, killing Alduin, man. Going to Sovngarde, that was cool. Got to see Jurgen Windcaller and God, what's the other guy's name? You have to go and get his axe for the
Uthrung is the axe. The companion's quest line.
Yeah,
what
companion's guy.
Is Ysgramor.
Yep, that's him. Yeah, Ysgramor. Yeah, I got to see him in Sovngarde too, so that was pretty cool. I did get a couple screenshots inside of Sovngarde because that place was gorgeous. Once I killed the dragon and all the mist was gone and stuff.
Oh man, whenever I did it, so I've only beaten Alduin once because that was just the only time I could get myself to commit to like finishing the main story instead of just doing a bajillion side quests. I was still on Xbox 360, so I couldn't like free cam around and get all the cool pictures that I could now on PC. So at some point I'd like to dive back in whenever I get some time. I don't know when that's going to be. Lately, getting time to play all these games that I want to play has just been impossible. Yeah. But I do want to get some Sovngarde pictures. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there's a mod that I'm using. I think you commented on some of the pictures I had taken about the sky.
Yeah, and, I bet that was so pretty.
There's a mod series that's I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it's like Cathedral. It's Cathedral weathers and things like that. They have a bunch of different ones, and I use all of the Cathedral stuff, and that's what makes my game look the way it does. And then I think I have some sort of window mod that actually makes the windows pop and look like there's light coming from inside of them, and different stained glass type things. Let me tell you, when I was up visiting Ryan about this time last year, me and him were playing through Skyrim on the Switch. And then coming home and loading up Skyrim on my PC, I was like, holy fuck, is there a difference in resolution and graphics and like load distance? Because the way I use Dulad, which is like a level of distance generator, and I can stand on top of a mountain and be looking out, and in the distance, like I can see Whiterun and like all of the buildings in it and things like that. It's really cool what Dulad does. And the clarity is really cool. So I've gotten some screenshots. I haven't posted these because I haven't gotten good ones yet, but I'll go up into the sky with the toggle free cam and then look down onto the cities, and like it's just this big expansive thing, and you can see all the stuff that's going on.
That's so awesome.
I really like it. It's been a lot of fun.
I have it. I'm one of those people that everybody hates because I just keep buying Skyrim, which is exactly what Todd Howard wants from us, and we never have to get Elder Scrolls 6. I have it on Xbox 360, Xbox One, Switch, PC again because I wanted the Legendary Edition, but I didn't get the free upgrade because I bought the first one too late. And because whenever the Legendary Edition came out, I had just a dinky little laptop that couldn't run it. So I bought the non-Legendary Edition, but didn't get the upgrade with it. And so then I had to buy the Legendary Edition whenever I got my actual gaming PC. So I just have a stupid amount of copies of this game. So I've played it everywhere.
I feel you, because I had it on PS3, and then I had it on PS4, and then Switch, and PC. But here's the thing about PC, right? So I have the VR version on PS4.
See, that's the only one I don't have is the VR version.
But on PC, I have the special edition. And yet, for some reason, I still want to buy the Legendary Edition because of that one goddamn mod that changes the whole game. It's not Nerim.
I was thinking special edition. I got special and Legendary mixed up. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. Not Nerim, that's the one for Oblivion that they made the entire. What's the game? What's the mod that's the whole
Beyond
game?
Skyrim?
No. It's not Fallscar.
Fallscar is good though.
Oh man. Anyway, there's some mod that like changes Indorol. That's what it's called. It's called Indorol, and it just uses the Skyrim engine. But this dude created his own game in the Skyrim engine, and it's called Indorol.
Nice.
And it's actually on Steam, and you can download it as a game, but you have to own Skyrim Legendary Edition. Not Special Edition, Legendary Edition. So I'm like, son of a bitch. And you can't buy that from Steam anymore, so I have to go to a key seller and see if they have Legendary Edition on like g2a.com or something, and buy it if I want to play that mod, which really annoys me. Or if, I could go visit Mr. Bay and get Legendary Edition and then just mod it that way, because fuck them. I've bought Skyrim 5 times. They can take me fucking downloading it once. Like, fuck them. I'm trying to think of what else. My museum displayed account for Legacy of the Dragonborn is now up to 719.
Nice.
there's all kinds of shit. Like, I'm trying to fill up the library. I've got some paintings on the walls. My dragon display is almost done. I'm missing 2 dragons, but all my other dragons are there in the display. I know I said this last episode, and I was talking about it in the Discord. I cannot recommend Legacy of the Dragonborn enough. That is what has kept this playthrough interesting to me, because a lot of the other playthroughs that I would do, you come across a lot of caves and a lot of places to explore, and after a while it's like, well, what the fuck? I'm going to go in there, I'm going to find an orcish sword I don't need, and I'm going to find 5 gold, and like, I'm going to see some cool stuff, but that's about it. You kind of get tired of just running through the dungeon crawling. But with Legacy of the Dragonborn, you might find something that you can put into the museum in any of those caves. So I like to go in there with a purpose. Like, all right, well, I'm going to go into this place, and maybe I'll find something to put a new display up. And, the more displays you have, the more people enjoy it, the more donations you get. So you get to go check the nifty donation box to gather up your gold that you've made that week or whatever. It's pretty sweet. And one of my favorite things is to be wandering around the museum, and you'll find Arin giving a tour. And you'll just walk into a room, and he'll be like, and this is the room of the Dragonborn, where you can see all of the various accomplishments of the Dragonborn as you with the weapons. Please do not touch the weapons, because there's this one little kid who's like, I could just imagine the Dragonborn killing enemies with his sword. Ha! Ha! Ha!
That's
and he starts
adorable.
doing these little moves in the air and stuff. Yeah, it's awesome. And now there's 2 ghosts that haunt it at night because of this whole quest with people haunting the museum. It's wild. It's one of the coolest mods that I've ever done. And I have a quest from the museum guy to go into this certain dungeon, or I guess it's a dwarven ruin, to get a certain item, and then come to find out he's trying to send me into the Forgotten City. So I'm going to check that out eventually. I've heard that mod's great. I know I've heard you, Pixie, rant and rave that it is just fantastic. But
It's extremely well written. Just don't accidentally steal something. Don't do it. I forget what I was trying to do. I think I was just trying to pick something up that I actually needed, and I wasn't even trying to steal, but I grabbed the thing next to it and stole. I walk out, and these fucking Centurions are just setting everything on fire. I'm like, oh no.
I love it. Yeah, I want to dive into it. The only problem that I was having with it, like I said to you off air, is that damn suicide note.
Yeah.
It's optional. It says optional, but I don't believe that it's optional. Like, I never believe anything in Skyrim is optional. Like, when it says optional, it's like, well, I should probably go do that. So I don't want to miss anything. So I don't know. Maybe there's a way that I can spawn it into my inventory with a console command or something.
Yeah, and definitely, a lot of these developers are likely you could reach them on social media, potentially. So if you head over to Twitter, if the person has a Twitter handle there, you might be able to DM them and say, hey, is there a way to get this note to spawn in, as long as you're respectful and you're just asking for help, or maybe go to the forums or something of that nature. Somebody is bound to help you. Reddit also.
Now,
I think I found out about that mod on Reddit, and I know it's one of the highly recommended ones. So
yeah, I know I did check the forum to see if there was any answers for it, and the only thing I found is to toggle collision and go under the tree and see if it's fallen through. And I could not find it anywhere down there. So I don't know. It says with the newest update of it, which I have the up to date patch or whatever the hell that they've done for it. It says that the note is on the dude's person. But I think that I've got mods that edit level lists and what things people have in their inventories, so I don't know if that conflicted and just removed the note from it.
probably. Yeah, you might want to disable that mod before reinstalling. I mean, disable the level list mod before reinstalling that one.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'll figure it out eventually. But yeah, that's basically what I've been doing. I finally beat the game, the vanilla part of the game. Though I have not gone back to visit the Blades. And I know that they're going to ask me to kill Party Snacks, and I don't want to kill him.
Don't
but
do it. Don't kill him.
I've got that nifty mod, the Parthenax Dilemma, and it allows you to not kill Parthenax and still not piss off the Blades too. So I'll let you know next episode how that goes, because I have not quite done that yet. But I'm interested to see how that goes because I don't want to kill him, but then again, like I like the blades too because I grew to love them in Oblivion. Like Martin, Septim, all of that jazz. It's near and dear to my heart because Oblivion's my favorite Elder Scrolls game. I love that game so much.
See, Skyrim was my introduction to Elder Scrolls. I still haven't played it.
Oh.
I still haven't played any of the other titles. This is my first one.
God, I can't wait to throw you into Morrowind, and it's just like,
Oh,
hey,
God.
there's little to no voice acting, so you're gonna have to do a lot of reading, and B,
Gross.
you're gonna have to read because the quests are like, follow this road, then take a left at the fork in the road, and then the tree with the rock underneath it.
Yeah, I hope you really hate quest markers.
Yeah.
That's all I'm... And I also hope that you really hate being able to actually successfully hit things with swords. Because the first time you try to hit, like, this little, like, caterpillar-looking demon spawn, you're gonna look down, you're gonna swing your sword down, it's gonna say, miss, miss, miss,
Yeah, bro,
miss.
it runs on D&D dice rolls in the background.
fantastic.
So like, Oblivion was the first Elder Scrolls game that was like, when you swing, if your sword hits it, it fucking hits it. Like all the ones before that ran on dice rolls, and it is very easy to just die to something minuscule, like she's saying, like a little silt strider baby or something. Like
It was so stupid. It was. I just walked out of the first town, something attacked me. I'm like, this should be easy. Miss. Miss. I was like, I don't understand how I'm so bad at this game. I'm standing right in front of you. Why won't you die?
I know we're talking about Skyrim, but one of my favorite parts in Morrowind is not too long after you leave that first town. If you're just walking towards, I believe it's Citanin from where you start at, this dude just falls out of the sky and just hits the ground and dies.
Levitation, dude.
And you click him, and he's got a note on him talking about how he's trying this new levitation scroll spells thing. And you can take the scroll from him, at which point you can then use that scroll, and it will throw you up in the air and drop you to your death, just like that guy.
Levitation has since been outlawed in Tamriel, even up in the second era. They outlawed. I think Morrowind was third era, so it was already outlawed. But I think they said levitation is outlawed because that would just be a bitch to code into any game.
Yeah. I've seen like some mods where it adds like Superman style flying to the Dragonborn and things like that for Skyrim, and it looks so janky. I just feel like it would be really hard to make look smooth in the Bethesda engine because it's just not built for that type of stuff.
I want a mod where you just take over an NPC, where you log in and all you have to do is run the inn for the day.
Dude, I'm sure there are mods like that.
Make sure the
like,
rooms are clean, make sure everyone is fed and getting their drinks and everything like that.
There's an alternate start mod called Skyrim Unbound, and you can actually set it to where you're not the Dragonborn. You'll never be the Dragonborn. There are no dragons. You can turn a whole bunch of quests off, so it's like if you just want to go buy a house and live your life in Skyrim as a hunter, fucking do it.
That's cool.
Like it's pretty cool. I use a different alternate start mod. I think I use the one that calls Live Another Life.
That's the one I use.
And it's just because like I've ridden that goddamn wagon so many times.
It's like starting a D&D campaign with the commoner homebrew build, where you have to do 5 levels of commoner before you can take your first level in whatever class you choose.
Oh God, dude, how would you even make it the 5th level commoner without just getting slaughtered?
Lots of lucky dice rolls.
Good Lord. All right. Well, so Elder Scrolls Online. Let's go ahead and let's touch on that some. You, as you said earlier, play the shit out of that game.
Yes.
At one point, I also played with you, and I do say so myself. We made quite the team of tank and healer.
Hell yeah, we did.
It was fun, and if I ever jump back in, I'll probably try to get back into some tanking because that was one of the games that I didn't get much tank anxiety, and it might have been because I had you with me as healers, so I wasn't worried about heals. You know what I mean? And at that point, we can tell DPS to fuck off because they rely on us.
Right.
So yeah, it didn't bother me too much, but Elder Scrolls Online takes place 1,000 years or so, like we said, before Skyrim. And one of the most recent expansions was Skyrim, and I think before that there was little sections that you could go into. Don't remember, was it Winterhold maybe?
You had Eastmarch, which had Winterhold. Windhelm.
Windhelm.
Not Winterhold. Winterhold's not in the game. That was actually some speculation is where we were going to go with the most recent expansion, but we ended up not going there. We went to Solitude. But
I love Solitude. That's my favorite city. Just saying. Solitude's great.
Yeah, Solitude is one of my favorites too. We got Solitude with Greymoor, and then with the most recent DLC, we got Markarth. So we got two of the coolest cities in Skyrim.
Fucking
this new
Markarth.
year.
God damn it.
Markarth is really cool in the second era because it's actually very different. It's not the Markarth you guys know. So,
Really?
Have you guys done the No One Escapes Cinda Mine quest line?
No.
I have barely been to Markarth yet on this playthrough. Honestly, I have not even been to Falkreath once yet. Like, that's how much I've been doing.
The game shafted me. I'm over encumbered with waiting to buy a house, waiting for the sun to come up, and of course, the one guy I talked to at the bar fucking knocks my ass out and drags me to Markarth. Still over encumbered with weight.
Oh my God,
Still
that is
haven't
the
bought my
best.
fucking house. No, that was awful.
No,
The best
that's
quest
hilarious.
line, though.
Yeah, when he told me that, I said, "Oh, did you really talk to Sam while you were?" And he's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh, bro." It's like, well, yeah, you've got quite the quest in front of you now.
So, in the second era, right now, if you guys in Skyrim were to go to Markarth, it would be run by Nords. And this first time you walk into Markarth, if you don't get dragged there by Sam, like Ryan did, you would walk through the main gates and you would immediately see somebody get murdered, and somebody would scream something about the Forsworn. Forsworn is a particular Reachman clan, and you deal with them a lot in the Reach area. They really, really, really hate most people who aren't Reachmen because they're really pissed off because they feel like they own the Reach. But now the Nords are there. Well, back in the second era, they did own the Reach. The Reachmen, there's multiple clans, so it's not just Forsworn. So you deal closely with the Ghost Song clan, for instance. You see them a lot during that whole storyline. But you walk first of all, you walk up the road to get to the entrance of Markarth. You're seeing, like, pikes and everything sticking out at you, ambiguous red paint / blood used as decoration, and Reachman markings on the walls. You go inside, there's significantly more granary draped everywhere, big animal skulls. It's just incredible. Reach witches, it's really cool, but they're friendly. So they don't necessarily like outsiders, but they're open to what you have to say. You're able to gain counsel with the Jarl there. Well, I guess he's not a Jarl, but you're able to gain counsel with the leader there, and that kind of kicks off the whole ordeal that you go through in Markarth. Because in the second era, all of Western Skyrim, from Solitude to Markarth, has a bit of a vampire problem.
Oh.
Sweet.
Way before the events in Elder Scrolls Online, there was this massive war in that area between humans and what were known as the Grey Host, which are a coalition of vampires and werewolves. So think Underworld, but they're friends. Ugh. And they just want to take over mortals. They mostly died. Really quick, big spoilers for Greymoor and Markarth, so just warning you now. I'm going to try to keep some of it kind of ambiguous, but the gist of it is, so that rebellion, or that war failed on the side of the vampires and werewolves. So the Grey Host, they thought, had been obliterated long ago. Turns out some of them survived, and they learned how to recall souls from Cold Harbor and Hircine's realm and regenerate them. And they're back, and they're working with Reach Witches, who are the ones running these rituals and helping them, and modifying the magic to make it even stronger. And it's just a nightmare for everyone who lives there. So you end up in Skyrim, and really early on, you'll see what looks like a huge red tornado spawn. And it's called a Harrow Storm, and that's what they're using to get the souls required from mortals to bring the soul of these undead back.
Now, gameplay-wise, is that similar to the anchors that would
Yes.
drop? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep, that's the replacement. So there's no anchors in this zone. So in Elsewhere, which was the expansion before Greymore, we had dragons. And that was kind of that zone's anchors. Before that, in Somerset, we had the Abyssal Geysers. Base game, you had the anchors. Now we have Harrow Storms. And they are visually stunning. I've taken so many screenshots of them. And they'll spawn like a massive enemy once you clear out the Reachman Pikes and all of that. But the cool thing is the contrast between... So on the one hand, you have Markarth, which is controlled at this point by Reachmen, which is the exact opposite of how it is in the Fourth Era. In the Fourth Era, you go there, it's controlled by Nords, and all of the Reachmen who have been discovered have been thrown into Sidna Mine, never to return unless you side with them during that quest line. In Solitude, however, it seems almost unchanged, and it just feels so familiar. The buildings are all where they should be for the most part. There are some minor changes here and there. The Winking Skeever is still an inn, but it's under a different name, and because obviously that dude hasn't been born yet. Yeah. And it's just so crazy how it feels like you're coming home, especially if it's one of your favorite cities in Skyrim, like it is for you and I. Yep. You just feel like it's like, wow, I'm home again. If you've spent as many hours in Skyrim as I did. And it's just really cool to see it so similar, but the story there is just such a different context, you know. And in Skyrim, like, yeah, there was the whole Dawnguard expansion, which dealt with vampires, but it's so different than Dawnguard even because of the way it was. You're not dealing with the Volkihar clan. There are vampire lords. They call them Blood Scions in this game.
That's cool.
But yeah, they are really cool. You can actually turn into one now. They changed the vampire line, and your ultimate is turning into a Blood Scion. It's really cool. And one of the most recent dungeons, the final boss is a badass Blood Scion named Lady Thorn. And, oh my god, if you've never played ESO, dungeons will have normal difficulty, veteran difficulty, and then for the final boss, and in the case of one dungeon, each of the bosses, you'll have hard mode if you're in veteran mode, where it just like ramps up the difficulty. Yeah. That dungeon's not hard on veteran, but you turn on hard mode and you just want to bash your face through the computer because it just lasts forever. She has so much health. And I was just talking about it on Tales last night because on Thursday night I just took another crack at the hard mode and couldn't get it, and it's just a nightmare. But it's really, really cool. And the whole time she's talking shit to you two, saying that she likes it when you struggle. It makes your blood taste better and stuff. And she's dope. A cool one. ESO Twitter is very active. And whenever Lady Thorn was announced and we got the first screenshots of her, people just kind of went nuts over her for a little while. Myself included. She's a badass. Badass lady bosses are really cool.
You're making me want to dive back into some Elder Scrolls Online, but I will say that I'm kind of bummed to hear that they didn't do Winterhold, because I had like this whole thing where I was going to ask you, like, all right, so like, what does Winterhold look like? Because it used to be this big, beautiful fucking place, and it's destroyed in Skyrim, like to the point that when you go and talk to the Jarl, he's basically just like, yeah, who fucking cares? Like, look at our fucking city. Only people only come here for the fucking college. And he's like, and those fucking elves and the reason that this city's in shit. And I'm just like, whoa, all right, brother. Like, what's the real issue here? But like, I was hoping to hear what it would have been like back then. But I guess that's just left to the imagination for now.
Well, the thing is there are still so many empty spots in the map that we will likely get like way later on down the line as either another expansion or another DLC, depending on, because ESO is still a very populous game. There's still a ton of people playing it and buying the new expansions. I know they're working on something I'm sure that we'll hear about. They usually announce in January, so we're all kind of guessing. There have been little hints, so we think that Cyrodiil might be a little bit different here soon. So that's just the running theme that I'm seeing coming, because there's some Akaviri stuff being added to the store. Unless we go to the continent of Akavir, which would be fucking incredible, and I would just be all about that. But
I've been reading some rumors that some people think that that's where the next Elder Scrolls game is going to take place. It's not even going to be on Tamriel. It'll be on a different continent.
That would make some things a little bit easier to explain because there are different ways that the Dragonborn can end up. I don't think so. I think based on the little tiny teaser we got that we're probably going to be in High Rock.
That's what I'm hoping for, is High Rock and that whole area with like Orsinium and all of that up there. Like, I love that whole area in ESO.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I mean, Akavir would be really awesome, though. We would get to learn so much more about the lore if we went over there, and we also wouldn't have to deal with some of the conflicting things that could have happened in Skyrim. Like, is Ulfric's... Like, the Civil War, for example. The Civil War obviously is going to have an effect on things for a long time in that universe afterwards. So, who is the canon winner? How are they going to handle people, like... who didn't side with the Imperials if they decide Imperials are canon? And how are they gonna... I mean, I guess they could just scream Dragon Break and everything happened. And
yeah, that's true.
That's a nice little handy-dandy plot device they have kind of baked in. So I'm interested to see where they go in Elder Scrolls 6, but I think it's gonna be High Rock or Hammerfell, somewhere over there.
I think if they had to pick a canon, it would be smart for them to pick that the Empire squashed the rebellion, because it's like, dude, so think about this, and I was thinking about this the other day. That's one part. That's like, they sent General Tullius, and he's been recruiting people from Skyrim to fight, and they have some other people. That's not the whole might of the whole Imperial army. If the Stormcloaks really became an issue and the Imperial army sent in the big guns, the Stormcloaks wouldn't have a chance.
Right.
They'd be outnumbered probably 100 to 1.
And then on top of that,
that's just if they sent my character in alone. Like...
Well, another thing to think about too is if the Stormcloaks did win, then it would weaken the overall empire, and it would be more likely that the Aldmeri Dominion would actually end up overall being the ruler there.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
The Empire... Okay. So, I do need to come out and say the fourth Aldmeri Dominion, which is the one you guys are dealing with, is completely different than the second Aldmeri Dominion. Yeah, and I have a theory. So, the second Aldmeri Dominion, the leader was Queen Irene. Her whole thing was she wanted equality amongst the races. She would put down her own people to make sure that the other races she was trying to have everybody see them as equals would be safe. So she has a plot against her from this group called the Veiled Heritants, which were Altmer purists, and they didn't like her treating the cat people as equals and stuff. So I think what happened was, if you look into the lore, none of these three factions won the Three Banners War that's going on in the Second Era. It just kind of fizzled out. Most of them just died, Yeah. And then eventually Talos comes in, and he's the one who's leading things. I think that whenever Irene failed to clinch that throne in the emperorship, that a lot of her people looked at that as a sign of weakness, like, oh, your equality didn't work out so well. And then they became the racist jerks that they are in the Fourth Era.
And that paved the way for somebody to come in and be like, listen, we're going to make Aldmeri Dominion great again. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to rule. We're going to build a wall between here and Skyrim. It's going to be great.
Exactly. And so I think if Irene would have won and would have become Empress, I think that the elves would behave very differently than they did. Because think about it, elves live a very long time. So let's say there's 850 years. Let's say your average elf lives 500 years. The kids or grandkids of the people that are in the Second Era are in the Fourth Era. They're old enough to have direct relatives who participated in this war and fought for Queen Irene.
Yeah, it's only
they
like
watched Queen Irene fall.
Only a couple direct generations instead of
multiple.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
now, I did pull those numbers all out of my ass. I don't know what their average lifespan is, but I think some of them live to 500.
Oh, no, yeah, you're right, because I know elves, they can live for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. And so I think because of that elven longevity and the fact that she wasn't able to clinch that throne, it really kind of paves the way for what dickheads they are in the Fourth Era. But the second Aldmeri Dominion was actually really, really cool because Irene was so accepting of other cultures. She actually, and you find this out really early in the Aldmeri Dominion storyline, she went missing for a long time. Nobody knew where she went. She was supposed to become queen, and she just wasn't there anymore. She didn't finish her, like, queen training that they had to do whenever you're in Altmer royalty. She comes back. Turns out she was out exploring Tamriel, immersing herself in foreign cultures because she wanted to understand the people to make herself a more effective leader. She comes back. She appoints Razumdar, really awesome, great Khajiit, extremely intelligent. She relies on him heavily the whole time because she is really young. I think she's only in her 30s, which for an elf is a baby. And so they call her the Child Queen. Razumdar is awesome.
Razumdar is amazing. Hello, friend. It is good to see you again. Yeah, he's fantastic. He's like the character who, for Ryan and anybody who doesn't know, anytime you like start a new expansion or DLC, like you are going to probably run into Razumdar, and he's like this.
I haven't seen him in Greymore.
No, oh okay. Well, at least in I think it was Somerset when I first started off, and he's like, "Hey, friend, I haven't seen you in forever. How are you?" You know, and I was like, "Hey, dude, good to see you again."
He's in Somerset. Like, he plays a huge part in Somerset, and then he is actually part of a side quest in Elsewhere. Because we're going to the land of the Khajiit, so how could you not have Raz somewhere in there? And apparently he's having some lady trouble over there, so that's great. I need to... So actually, Jelos, the old co-host and founder of Dungeon Crawler Network from Tales of Tamriel, he was actually the one telling me about it, because I somehow managed to miss that side quest. I was like, oh, I'm surprised I haven't seen Raz. And he's like, you do see Raz. It's one of the best quests in Elsewhere, so I know what I need to go do next time I'm meandering around Elsewhere. But, so I think if Queen Irene would have won, the people around her would have saw, like, this is what we need to do. Obviously, we work better as a group. We are equals. They fought by our sides and won us this throne. We now own the empire. And I don't think that would have changed over the course of 2 to 3 elf generations. Whereas whenever she fell, the Veiled Heritance can point the finger, see, they dragged us down, we don't need them, they have a chip on their shoulder against the races outside of the Dominion, so it could have gone so much differently.
Now, is there anything in the Skyrim expansion that kind of alludes to how Skyrim became what it is today, as far as the Nords taking over, anything like that, or is that too far back then to really affect what's going on now?
So Skyrim's political climate back then is extremely different. So Skyrim isn't as unified back then as it is in the Fourth Era. For example, you have Doran the Skald King, who is leading the Ebonheart Pact, right? Mm-hmm. So we were talking about the Aldmeri Dominion. You have the Aldmeri Dominion, the Daggerfall Covenant, and the Ebonheart Pact. So you have the Skald King. He is the base game areas that you get. You have East March, which includes Windhelm, and then you have the Reach, the Rift. We'll start with R. The Rift, which is where Riften is, and so he's in that area. Those two zones. So he's over in Eastern Skyrim. In Western Skyrim,
where the mountains separate. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on the king's name. Svargrim. King Svargrim. He does not like Joran at all. At all. Not a fan. He refuses to join the Ebonheart Pact. He wants no part in this war. He wants to worry about his country with his people. So Western Skyrim, they're very much closed off, even from the other Nords. So the Nords can't even really get along with each other that well. And so it is definitely a contrast to this. I mean, we do have warring Nords because we have the Nords that join the Imperials and the Nords that join Ulfric Stormcloak, but there's not that whole Nordic racial unity that you have and that you hear so much about in Skyrim. There is no Skyrims for the Nords. Like, no, like Eastern and Western Skyrim can't even get along in the Second Era. Now, at some point, at the end of Greymore, they kind of squash that. The princess ends up getting along quite well with the Skald King and accepts his aid, and so that kind of leads you to assume that in the following time they do have a more closer tie with their people and eventually join the pact, you know?
Yeah, and it kind of unifies, becomes one. Yeah.
Right, because the East came in and the West was pretty devastated. Even though you were able to overcome the Grey Host threat there, they were still devastated. So many died. There was still Reach Witches roaming around trying to do their Harrow Storm spells. And the Skald King came in and decided to help them out. They were going to help fund the rebuilding effort, put troops there to help defend the people of Western Skyrim. So that outreach from the Skald King in the East kind of smoothed things over. And there was a different leader in place at that point. So it was easier for them to kind of negotiate. She was more open-minded than her father was. So it does kind of show a completely different side to Nordic culture in that fashion, because you can see just how much they disagree with themselves even. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to have to fucking spend some more money and get that shit and play. God damn it. You
have to.
Yeah, this whole conversation is just making me be like, man, I want to go run around an ESO. My main thing was finding the extra 130 gigs or so that I need for it. But, you know, now that I've got another place to install games, it should be all right.
Yeah, it's definitely still worth playing. It's extremely active. They're still adding new content. It's a really fantastic game. I know I'm still having fun with it 5 years later, so.
I feel so left out because RPGs are not my thing. Like, she talked about Dalton's Ryan, like itching. He's like, I need my RPG fix, and I'm just like, God damn it! Like,
so I mean, it's an MMO, and the thing with ESO is it does. I just sound like I'm just an infomercial at this point, but this is just because I've played it for so long. It does have a little something for everybody. So if you're not a questing type and you just want to go fuck shit up, like, it is an MMO. There's end game rating. Yeah. It's kind of a serious thing. There's housing. Their housing system is really incredible. There is so much you can do with it. They call them the housing mancers of ESO. If you watch any of those crazy housing videos, the things they make are just insane. There's a lot of PvP in the game. So I mentioned the Three Banners War earlier. In Cyrodiil, that's where you have the Three Banners War. It's the only place after the One Tamriel update that we had years ago that your alliance actually matters, because it's alliance versus alliance versus alliance. So you're actually putting down trebuchets to take down a keep and to flip it for your faction and whoever's at the top of the leaderboard. It's really awesome.
It's wicked. It's also a really cool way to die, because
I suck at it.
I love running around Cyrodiil and just checking it out, and it never fails that I'll just be running by myself, and all of a sudden here comes two people from a different pact that'll just come over and slaughter me. And I'm like, well, all right, I guess I'll try to run all the way back here because this fucking zone is massive.
You need to use the Serious AM4 engine to do something for this, so you can have like 100,000 enemies on the battlefield at one time.
Yeah, I don't know if I've told you about that, Pixie, but Serious Sam 4, when the game starts off, it drops you into a battle where all you can see as far as you can see is enemies. They said their new engine can handle up to 100,000 enemies on screen at once.
Why?
It's nuts, because it's one of those fast action first person shooters, just blasting as much as possible. It's
all I can think really about fun. Is just holding the shoot button and spinning around.
Yeah, no,
that would be how I would
Serious
do it.
Sam is like a first person run and gun, pretty much. Like,
yeah, I really like it.
You said RPGs aren't your thing. They are mostly what I play. Like, I think my top genres are RPG, casual, like Animal Crossing, Harvest Moon games, and then sometimes a little platformer here and there, because I have a Spyro addiction. So it's the run and guns just really aren't my thing.
Yeah.
I actually really suck at first person shooters in general.
This show's forcing me out of my shell of being a super casual gamer, and I'm still trying to figure out what kind of game styles that I'm more into or not. I know it.
Have you guys had Witcher 3 as an episode yet?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. You think I would have a Witcher 3 episode and not ask you to be on it?
Okay,
Come on.
I'm less
Come on.
offended now. So
I have that on. I have that on the Switch. Haven't started it yet.
What a great game.
that is my favorite single player game.
That is a
of
game
all time.
I recommend to anybody that they're like, man, I'm trying to play it, but I'm like, put it on easy. Before you even tell me that game's too hard,
It's hard.
put it on
Nope.
easy.
I'm gonna listen to my coworkers and just start off at the hardest difficulty.
So I have played it on Death March.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to start it on Death March.
Don't do that.
Thank you.
Controls are wonky. The controls are wonky. The dodge times are wonky. It's a lot to get used to very early. Now, once you get to like level 15 or so, you have a feel of the game by that point so start out on normal. My first playthrough, I did it on normal. I didn't do it on easy. Start out on normal.
well, look at
if
you,
you
Miss
get out
Badass.
of white, hey, I mean, I played Witcher 2, so I had some background knowledge there. So I started out on normal. If you get out of White Orchard and everything feels easy, bump it up to Blood and Broken Bones. Everything starts to feel easy again, bump it up to Death March.
Yeah.
And then you're just going to want to cry. And it's difficult because something looks at you funny and you die.
I'm just going to say this.
It's a lot of fun.
I know how much you dislike reading in video games, Ryan, and if you want to play The Witcher on the hardest difficulty, you're going to have to read bestiaries, and you're going to have to read what potion ingredients you need to go make a potion to make yourself not suck so much against
that's what my coworker was telling me. He's like, if you really want to play as an actual Witcher, you have to play it on the hardest difficulty because you have to do all of that reading and have to do all of the potion crafting and make sure that all your gear is exactly what you need going into whatever you're supposed to be doing. Like,
I will say if you use a sign build too, I like sign builds a lot. Those are my favorites. Quinn's your best friend. Keep Quinn up at all times.
Quinn is like your free hit. Like, it'll hit you and then Quinn will go away. So, like, that's like your little shield from ultimate death.
And it takes like a while to like build up adrenaline. So you just make sure that Quinn is always your priority and just dodge the shit out of everything. It is something else. But if you don't like reading, then definitely start off with an easier difficulty because it is a lot of reading if you don't know the enemies. Like, by the time I started playing on Blood and Broken Bones and Death March, I already kind of knew the enemies' weaknesses and stuff because I had already played it once on normal. So it was easier for me to kind of like adjust to that because I already understood. And I enjoy reading bestiaries because a lot of these are based on creatures from folklore and stuff. Like the Leshen is badass. I think the Leshen is pretty much everybody's favorite enemy in that game just because of how crazy they look. And you just see them ominously in the woods. And God, that game right there is why I'm so excited for Cyberpunk. Because I'm going to be honest with you guys, Cyberpunk is not my genre at all. Like, Witcher was my genre. That's my shit. Cyberpunk, like, first of all, it's a first-person shooter, which I am just ridiculously bad at. Second, it's set in the future, and I like medieval fantasy.
Now, are they doing, like, Fallout style? Is it like first-person shooter but RPG, or is it just straight-up first-person shooter?
It is an RPG first-person shooter second.
Okay.
Is what they've said. It is very much... And they also expanded on what they learned from the quest system in Witcher, and they said that their quest writing has improved even since The Witcher. I've seen... So the people at CD Projekt Red have actually been playing through their own game since it's about to launch, and I've seen some of the devs saying that they like needed the tissues.
That's pretty wild because I was literally just about to tell Ryan that when it comes to story writing that you would be hard pressed to find something better than The Witcher 3. As far as that game's story was so fucking good.
I have never cried so hard during a video game than I have at Witcher 3. It got to the point where my boyfriend would come home and I'd be playing because he used to work at a bar, and so he'd be gone at night. He'd come home really late, and that's whenever I was gaming, and I'd just be a sobbing mess on the couch. He's like, "Are you okay? What happened? He found Siri!" And I was just a complete mess, and it just... God, I'm tearing up just thinking of it right now. I love that game so much. And they actually announced not too long ago that the people who have the game on PS4 and bought a PS5, and same thing on the Microsoft side, are going to get a free upgrade to the next gen version, which is also coming free to PC players who have the game already.
I was going to say, I thought that was awesome because I've got it physical copy on PS4. So if I get a PS5, I can just pop that in and get the PS5 version, which is sweet. And whenever that releases, it's just going to be available in my Steam library. And I'm like, yes.
And you have the 2070, right?
I have 260 Super.
Okay, so that's an RTX card, so like you'll be able to do ray tracing and stuff because this is going to be ray tracing supported.
Yeah. I do not know if my card supports ray tracing or not.
It's the RTX 2060, right?
2060 Super, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
It does?
Yeah.
Oh,
I know Cyberpunk with the 2060 Super, you can do. There's different levels to ray tracing that you can turn on. They just announced the like in-depth system requirements, so I'm assuming it's going to be the same for the revamped Witcher. The 2060 Super can run it if you put like the graphics level on either medium or high, and then you put the RTX on minimum, so you can have some RTX effects.
Yeah, I've already pretty much come to terms with myself that is as badass as I like to think my computer is. It is not going to run Cyberpunk on Ultra.
It can actually run Cyberpunk better than you think it can.
What level did you have to set Serious Sam 4 at?
Oh, I can run Serious Sam 4 at top.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Remind me to send you those system requirements because people were shocked at what they were saying the game can run on. So, for example, I can run it on... So if you're okay with running it at 1080 instead of 1440, I think you can play it on high or ultra with your card. Especially, you might even be able to have minimal RTX on. So the game's going to look gorgeous, especially if you're okay with 1080.
Yeah, 1080 doesn't bug me that much. You know, I mean, it's like I played with 1080 for so long that it's really not that hard to just go back to it. You know, now if I wanted to play certain games that I'm now used to playing in 1440 and go back to 1080, it's noticeable, but it's not a deal breaker. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, it's all about how you want to balance out performance and. Like, if you're okay, I mean, you and I were console gamers for how long? We're used to looking at things in 30 frames per second.
Yes, yeah. And,
I wouldn't recommend it on a monitor, but, you know, you can do it.
There are certain games that I've played that are 30 frames per second locked, and then and then they'll release on PC, and they'll have unlimited frame rates, and it's fucking noticeable once you see it. Like Zelda, like Breath of the Wild, for example. When I was saying I ran it on PC, running that at 60 frames a second and at 1440 it's miles ahead as far as looking different because it just looks a lot smoother. But yet when I load it up on the Switch and play it, it plays just fine, even though it's still at 30 frames a second and whatever it needs to do to run on that. You know, it's just.
I think handheld at 720, and if it's docked, it's 1080. Mm-hmm. But. I know whenever I switched from... Because I played ESO on console for years before switching to PC. That was the first thing I noticed was the frame rate difference. Because I was used to 30 frames per second on console, and then my PC it's 60. And I'm just like...
Final Fantasy XIV was the same way with me. It was going from console to PC was like, whoa. All right.
I didn't notice as huge of a jump with Final Fantasy, but I think it's because I didn't play Final Fantasy as much as I played ESO.
Yeah. Well, I started playing Final Fantasy XIV, I believe, on PS3. So, you know, I've seen that game evolve from, you know, PlayStation 3 to what it is now.
That's got to be really cool.
Yeah, it's been a ride for sure. I also remember ESO when it first launched, and it was all right. It's become way
it was so
better.
Different back then. Yeah, it is. Whenever it first launched, it felt less Elder Scrolls and more just like, I don't know what you would expect from an MMO.
It was like trying to be World of Warcraft with the Elder Scrolls skin on it.
Exactly.
They kind of came into their own, and you know.
Whenever they released the one Tamriel update was really what changed everything. Because then it was really, I can go anywhere now. Just like Whenever you get off that cart in Skyrim, you can go anywhere. You're not going to get just smacked down immediately. You're not going to get into a zone that you just can't handle because everything scales to you. And like, yeah, you'll encounter tougher enemies and stuff. Like if you encounter a dragon priest at level 2, you're going to have a bad time. But
Yeah.
a real bad time. But with ESO, it's now the same way. The second you start the game, as long as you have the DLC and or expansion, you can go anywhere. And you can play with your friends, and you're not even locked to Alliance anymore outside of Cyrodiil. So it really gives you that freedom to feel like, yes, I am playing an Elder Scrolls game right now, because Elder Scrolls is about freedom. And that's what I love about that series. So that's something I hate to talk. I don't want it to sound like I'm trashing The Witcher or anything, but obviously with Elder Scrolls games, you have significantly more freedom, than you do in Witcher 3. Because like you will get into a high level zone where everything will kill you. Period. Absolutely. You cannot
Very
go
quickly.
into certain areas. Yeah. I mean, you can if you're super sneaky and just nothing sees you, but you're locked out based on enemy difficulty, which is how Elder Scrolls Online used to be. But in Elder Scrolls Online, you were also locked to your faction originally. So it used to matter which faction you joined for PvE content too. So like if I was Aldmeri Dominion, I'd start in Auradon, I would go to Valenwood, and that was the area I could stay in until I hit level 50 and completed the story, and then I could go to the other zone. But I could still only play with other Aldmeri Dominion people. I would never see those other factions unless we went into PvP and were against each other. And those lines are just completely gone now, and you can play with whoever you want. It's great.
Yeah, which has made it really nice. Yeah, I think the last episode, how I described Elder Scrolls games is it's like they give you a general consensus of like what your world is and what you're kind of doing, and they give you a little tutorial, and then once you get out of that tutorial area, they're like, welcome to the world, motherfucker, go have fun. Like, we're not going to dictate to you, like, maybe you should go do this and that, but do what the fuck you want. You want to go just slaughter giants for 10 hours? Go for it. You could do whatever you want. That's what I've always thought was great about it. Well, I think that about covers it. I think we've been going about an hour 14, and I know that you've got a show that you would like to watch with the old man. So
I'm addicted to Vikings. I can't help it. I started playing Valhalla. I was like, okay, I've already watched all seasons of The Last Kingdom. Let's start another Viking show. So I've been watching Vikings.
How far into that show are you?
I think I'm season 4, the very beginning.
I forget which season it is, but the Blood Eagle scene is just.
Oh yeah, that was a while ago. That was brutal.
That was awesome.
Bjorn just came back from the mountains. He killed a bear, and the assassin was there. Lagatha just killed the dude on their wedding day. It was badass. It was good times.
Yeah. Vikings is a good show. If you haven't checked it out, I think Edge is in it, Dalton.
Yeah, I've been meaning to check that out because he plays Smash Nose, I think is his name. Or is there a guy named Smash Nose, Smash Face, something like that? He's got like a real smashed up nose. I don't remember what season he comes in at, but I think it's something Smash Nose. I don't know. I think Ryan's looking it up. I've been meaning to start that show though. I remember really a girl invited me over to her house one time, and when I went over there to hang out, that's what she was watching was Vikings. So I've seen like a little bit of one episode.
Flat nose.
Flat Nose, that's what it is. Yeah,
I haven't met him yet, but
when you see him, he was a professional wrestler.
Yeah, he's season 5 and 6, so you're coming up on it.
Okay.
I keep telling Baker this, but the Ragnar looks familiar. I don't know. I feel like he's an MMA fighter, or he just looks like an MMA fighter to me. But that's all I can think every single time I see him.
Well, Ryan, you got anything else you want to talk about with Skyrim or anything?
No, I don't think so. I know I'm going to get increasingly more frustrated as these quests keep popping up, but...
Well, before we get out of here, then, I just want to say, Pixie, I am super fucking proud of you for everything that I have watched you accomplish. I remember when it was just me in your Twitch stream and that one other dude,
Josh.
Josh, yeah. I was gonna call him something else, but I I couldn't remember his name. So yeah, Josh. And now to look at you and you're on the fucking Elder Scrolls Online stream team. It's fucking. It's impressive. I'm proud of you, kiddo.
Thank you. I still can't believe all of it because I still think back on the days whenever you were the only one watching my stream and I was literally sitting in my living room in a different chair than this one, but in a gaming chair with just a wall behind me, and I didn't have a light, so I took the lampshades off of 2 lamps with naked bulbs and put them on either side of my PlayStation, and that's how I streamed from my PlayStation.
Yeah.
Didn't even have a PC. And
it was
it was so bad.
Was it this chair?
It was that chair.
Yeah.
You still have it.
Yeah, I still use it. Yeah, man. So just watching you succeed, and all the times that you message me, and you're like, "Oh my God, this happened! I can't believe it!" And I'm like, "I can. Good job, kiddo. I've been telling you this whole fucking time that you rock." So
you're gonna make me cry.
Well, don't do that. No,
Happy
none
tears.
of that. So I'm looking forward to seeing where you go from here. I always try to pop into streams and at least say hello, and even if I don't say hello, I like to stay for a little bit, give you a view. But sometimes you're in the middle of some shit or talking to people, and I'm like, I don't want to interrupt. But
no. The interrupt. It's fun. I like to talk. So does everybody else in chat. They're all a bunch of trolls. I love them. They are lovable little trolls. But
yeah, I know.
You'll see them giving me so much shit the entire time.
The day I came in there and I said something nice to you, and they were all like, "Ew, what are you being nice to her for?" And I'm like, "What the fuck?"
They're not used to people being nice to me anymore. What happened was, what started the trolling. So I play a necromancer now. That's my main. Back whenever you and I would run together, I was a Templar healer main. It was before necromancer was a thing. I'm a necro healer now. There is this move called Blast Bones. And what it does is it summons a skeleton. The skeleton will throw himself and explode on whatever you target. It's great. It's my favorite spell in the game. It's fantastic. Well, so you have 2 bars in ESO and you swap between the 2 of them. So I have my Healy bar and my Ouchie bar. So I thought I was on my Healy bar. And so I was like, okay, I get fidgety and I like to just press
Are those
buttons.
Technical terms?
So
Your
I thought
Healy bar and your...
Nope. Oh. You'll probably like this one. So there's this move that starts out as, I think it's called like Necrotic Orb or something. It's a big blue ball that hurts things. And you can morph it to a yellow one that heals things. So I have my Healy balls, and the other one is the blue balls, or ouchie balls, depending on how I'm feeling that night with my words.
Blue balls, ouchie
exactly.
balls, that's the same thing, trust me.
I feel like they knew what they were doing with that one, I have to say. But, yeah, I rename all of my skills. So Blast Bones, that is actually a skill name, but, I think back then I was using the Spirit Guardian morph, but I call him my Healy Ghost. So basically you can summon a ghost that for a limited time will sit there and heal you and your friends. And it's just like a healer pet, kind of. And it's really useful. It drops a corpse. You can use its corpse to it changes the way your moves work. And so the Necromancer is kind of a technical class with its corpse management thing that you don't have to worry about with other classes. But it makes it really strong if you're good at it. So I was waiting for my tank to come back from the bathroom, and I just wanted to press buttons, and I thought I was on my Healy bar, and I hit the ghost button. Now, I was actually on my ouchie bar, and I like to have my summons on the same button, but on opposite bars. I summoned Blast Bones, and Blast Bones hit the first available target, which was an innocent little bunny. And not only hit the bunny, which had 1 HP, it critical hit it for 14,000 HP. So the bunny was sent straight to oblivion, and somebody clipped it, and you can hear them say, "Did you just murder that bunny?" And I was like, I don't think that was my Blast Bones, because, again, I thought I was summoning my ghost. I had no idea what bar I was on. And you just hear Mission go, "Wow, you are cynical." So now everybody has decided that I am a monster because I am a bunny murderer, even though it was a one-time thing and it was clearly an accident. And you can see in the clip that I'm just very confused by what just happened and why the bunny died. And I'm looking around trying to figure out, because one of the DPS was also a necromancer. So I thought it was his blast bones, but he had different blast bones, which was green instead of blue. Mine was blue. You see the blue skeleton go attack the bunny. So it was clearly me who did it, but I had no idea at this point. And from there, I have become the tyrant queen. I have just... Then there was this issue. There was this thing. I guessed it on a podcast.
You're a monster.
And
Crit hit a bunny for 14,000.
apparently,
Jesus Christ!
I didn't mean to. It was an accident. I didn't want to hurt the bunny. And they were like, "Use your necro res on it." I was like, "It doesn't work. It's not dropping a corpse. I can't do it because I exploded the bunny." So I had made a comment about how I wanted to play as a healer in an MMO because I wanted to feel needed, and there's only one healer in a group. And so that was twisted into, so you think DPS are disposable, and you don't care about DPS.
Yeah, they are. I'm just saying.
Oh, God. You're going to get me in trouble again.
No, send your hate tweets to @TheSteamMachineDalton.
The funny thing is tanks always, so whenever I tell this story, I'm always like on the defensive side, like, no, that's not what I meant at all. The tanks between you, my tank that is with the prog group, in the prog group with me, Lego, and Arcaneer from Tales of Tamriel, and I think also Lotus, have all been like, yeah, it's blah, 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 like agreeing with what you just said. So...
Yeah.
It's kind of hilarious, but...
Listen, you know how I know that? Because in World of Warcraft, if you're a healer and you queue for a dungeon, auto queue. If you're a tank and you queue for a dungeon, auto queue. If you're a DPS and you queue for a dungeon, 20-minute average wait time at least.
Oh yeah, whenever I do play on one of my DPS tunes, like I have to get a full group together before doing anything because I'm not waiting in that queue.
Yeah.
Healer queues are fine. Tank queues are great. I've also been tanking in ESO lately, and that's super fun. Yeah. But so anyway, whenever I made that comment on the podcast, Wandering Bard, who I mentioned earlier, he started a rebellion in Discord called the Soul Gem Society, because whenever my tank, Lego, came to my defense, just like you just did, he said DPS are just soul gems because they're constantly dead and we're having to revive you because they're squishy. They became known as the Soul Gem Society, and they have their own role in Discord, and they have picket signs that like to pop up sometimes.
Tremendous.
So yeah, the whole thing now is just, I made one mistake with a bunny, so everyone trolls me, but it's really, really fun. It's all in good fun. Everybody's great, and it keeps it interesting, especially whenever I get some of them in voice with me, and they're just trolling me the whole time. But it's a really good time, and they are extremely welcoming. So definitely, don't feel shy. Don't feel like you're interrupting anything. Just come hang out with us sometime.
True that.
We'll get you back into ESO.
Well,
because you don't even have to pay the sub, so you can just start playing again.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, speaking of your Twitch and stuff, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you. Twitch, Twitter, any of that kind of stuff.
So you can find me on Twitch and Instagram at HyperPixie Gaming, and you can find me on Twitter at HyperPixie Games because of those pesky character limits.
Word up. And if you would like to find us on the internet, you can go to Facebook.com/TheSteamMachinePodcast, or you can find us on Twitter at Steam_podcast. Hey, it didn't fuck it up. Mark it on the tally. There's another tally. I didn't fuck it up. I did just start, if Discord is not your thing, on our Facebook page, I have a Discord linked if you want to join our Discord. But if that's not your thing, we did just start a Facebook group. It's called the Steam Machine Podcast Lounge. If you want to come and join, you can share gaming memes. We can talk about games. We can talk about any, movies, anime, whatever. It's going to be a community where we can all just kind of get together and shoot the shit and be respectful and make each other laugh, all that kind of good shit. So Facebook. I don't know what the actual thing is, but if you go on there and you search the Steam Machine Podcast Lounge, it'll pop up. Come join us, talk some shit with us. Other than that, man, I did finally. I put together the tier list, and I put that up on the group thing. So, if you would like to rank the games that we have done so far, along with me and Ryan, I do believe that Ryan was working on his. I've got mine up on the page and I believe the group, actually, not the page. I put it in the group along with the link for someone to be able to do their own. So if you want to pop in there and do that, that would be cool too. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes if you will. That would be fucking fantastic. It helps us climb the ranks between all of these other gaming podcasts that are out there and help us get discovered by more people. And yeah. Oh, we are now available on Audible. So that's cool.
Nice.
That is cool.
Audible started doing podcasts.
Nice.
So it showed up. I had somebody message me the other day with a screenshot and they're like, "Did you know you guys were on Audible?" And I was like, "No, no, I didn't." So that was pretty sweet. Is there anything else that either of you would like to say before we sign off of here?
It's been fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And we're going to have you back again. I will definitely bug you when we get to The Witcher or any other Elder Scrolls related material. I can't wait to see what you think about Arena.
So technically I have Arena, but instead of suffering through it myself, I've just been watching Lotus of Doom from Tales playing it. That is the funniest shit I've seen in my life. It's
wild.
Hysterical. You have got to, if you haven't already, check out Lotus of Doom on Twitch. He's also Lotus of Doom on Twitter, but check out his Twitch channel because his arena playthrough is just the best thing you'll see, and it'll just make you feel so much better about your own life, especially in 2020, because that's like the whole game. It's great.
Yeah, Arena is interesting because they real quick before we sign off, it's like the whole thing behind Arena was they were going to make an Arena game, but then they just decided to add a bunch of lore and make it a full-fledged RPG. So it's interesting to see like that Elder Scrolls was just originally going to be just a fucking arena fighter, and it turned into what it is today. But again, thank you so much for coming on, Pixie. Everybody go check her out on Twitch. I can't recommend it enough. It's a good time. So for HyperPixie, and he's Ryan, I'm Dalton. As always, guys, take it easy.
Bye, everybody.